learning two-handed spey casting by yourself, we like you to build on what you already know. Right? So spey casting usually involves, I have to shorten this because it involves, we say 4 steps. First of all, the line is at a dangle. You have to be able to learn how to lift the line off the water, because you have to lift the line off the water to sweep the line and set it at the anchor. Okay, so the first thing you have to, first way they describe your spey cast is a dangle, lift it. Second thing is sweep the line to set the anchor. And the third thing after you set is to bring the rod up and de-loop, right? Up and de-loop. And once you go up above, you go forward and go. All right, thank you. Forward and go. So the 4 steps: lift, set, sweep the rod up, and then you forward and go. Of all the 4 steps, the last step is the thing we know the best, because the last step is the same as roll cast, right? I mean, last step, once you bring the rod up here, there's a roll cast. Except a roll cast with 200 rod, we don't use the top hand too much. We use the bottom hand. We use the bottom hand. Because this gives you more power, leverage. If you fix this and you move this, it has less power than you fix this and you move this. Okay, the leverage is different. So the last step is we are single-handed caster. We already know this, except we have to remember to do the bottom hand. And that's not as easy as it seems. We always forget. We always try to do this because we're so used. But it's the bottom hand that you want. Huh? The bottom hand. Of course, the right top hand has to steady the rod. But I'm trying to show you, I'm not using the top hand. Okay, I'm holding the steady and using the bottom hand. See that? So that if you are starting to use a 200 rod, it might take 15 minutes, even half an hour to get used to this habit. I told you there are 4 steps. The last step is when the rod is up here and you are roll casting. The step before that is when you move the rod tip up and make a D-loop, right? So what you do is, now that you learn the last step is to do a roll cast but using a bottom hand. Now you must try from the 4th step over to the 3rd step. 3rd step you must learn to bring like a dynamic roll cast, bring the rod up. You learn to imagine the rod tip describing a V, and then you pull the rod. So the step you do. Right? After all, the first step, you bring backwards. Huh? The first step of learning it, you're doing the roll cast with your bottom hand. And then 3rd step, from 4th step, you go 3rd step, you do something like this. Right? And then the 2nd step, is to sweep the line. I should just remind you how it's done. The first step is to lift the line in regular teaching, lift the line, and then 2nd step is to set the anchor there. 3rd step is to bring the rod tip up in the D-loop, and then finally you roll cast forward, right? But in your learning curve, you start from the back up. You learn roll cast dead, bottom hand, right? Okay, sorry about that. And then we learn to bring the D, make a D-loop. Now we want to set the anchor. Now, setting the anchor is, for us, we start with spey casting, probably the more difficult part, because we're not used to lifting the line up properly so that the line will anchor there properly. So what I suggest that when those of us who are learning, when you're starting, you just put it on here how there. If it doesn't work, you flop the line there, and that's anchor. And then you put the D-loop. Okay. So when you start off, you can't set the anchor properly. Oh, never mind. Just put it here, right? Because there is something called Perry poke. Have you come across that? Perry poke. Carl Perry is a steelhead fisherman. When he began, he wasn't good at spey casting. So every time he was taught, oh, you set the anchor there, and then you cast the line, he will make a mess of it. And then he says, well, I'll just make a big mess of it. And now he does. This is actually Perry poke. Perry poke is to have you recover from a bad setting of anchor. So for us, we are learning from the back, right? We learn the roll cast, and then we learn to sweep and make the D-loop. And now, before we learn how to set the anchor properly, we just make the loop hook and do the D-loop. And now, the last thing to learn is the first step of spey casting. We are doing it in reverse. This lift and set is probably harder because the lift is very important because it depends on how high you lift, how much line you have, how high you. Because when you lift it up and you start to sweep back, the line is hugged by the surface tension, and then suddenly it gives way. And if you're rushing too much, the line will scoot all the way to the back. And if you don't realize it's going to give, you don't give enough force, the anchor will be too far. So it's something you have to get used to. All right, you have to get used to. And it depends on how much line you have. It depends on your rod. So basically, you lift it, and then you set the anchor. Where you set the anchor is, most times it depends on the rod length, right? We don't cast spey rod vertically, we cast sideways because it's dangerous. Huh? And so obviously the anchor has to be along where your rod tip is. It's not exactly, this is 12-foot rod, that's all I can bring here, but it's maybe 10 feet away. And then you say it's like 45 degrees away, that's where you like to have it. Actually, if your anchor starts length further back, it really doesn't matter. It seems to be just as well. But for examination purposes, you have to show your anchor in the right position. And theoretically, if the anchor is there, then it allows you to develop a nicer D-loop. If the anchor is there, your D-loop might be a little small. Okay? So the idea is you have to set the anchor there, and then, right? Set the anchor there, right? Set the anchor there. Right? And a lot depends on your rod, a lot depends on the line. The line is much, 3 times as more important in two-handed casting than in single hand. Because in single hand, you can have a long line carry. Long time carry means a long line outside the tip top or a short line. And you can adapt by lengthening your stroke or shortening your stroke. Spey casting, the length, the size of the stroke is kind of fixed. Depending on the size of your rod, we say that some 1 foot length of rod will give you 10 more feet of distance. And of course, if you're a 6-footer and I'm a 5-footer, I'm already losing by 10 feet of distance, roughly speaking. And if I stand in the water 1 foot deep, I become a 4-footer. You know, if I stand in 5 deep, I become a 3-footer, great spey caster, and your movement is very different. So, for exam purposes, most people fish with 14, 15 footers. Most people. There are some who are more daring, of course, just like some people take CI tests with a 3-way rod. But anyway, that's what I want to say when you want to learn spey casting on your own. Start, just one review. Start, the last thing that you learn to do is to forward delivery and go, right? And third step is you have to learn to up and a D-loop. So this is up and a D-loop and then forward and go, right? And before that is to get the anchor right. And if you can't get the anchor right at the beginning, doesn't matter. Do a poke and then up and go, right? And lay up. With practice, you know, all right. And every rod is so different. Every rod is so different. And of course, there are different styles. You can use the hand a little bit, forward hand a little bit more. In which case, you can. I'm trying too hard. Okay, you can thin the loop down a little bit. Scandinavian is mostly like that. Right? And Skagit, the line is even shorter. So this is the lesson I like you to know. It's a good way to start to learn from the back up. All right. The other thing is, Bintoro was asking me, you know, single spey is said to be harder than most other. Not true. It's only difficult because single spey, to make a 90-degree change is awkward. That's why it's difficult. Other than that, of course, I don't know how to do. I can only do a switch cast here. I can't even do angle change. There's no room for no room for change. Okay, but let's see. Now I'm going to ruin my line like this too much. And these lines are not cheap. And the reason, if you look at catalogs for Spey casting, there are lines at every 30 grains different. You have lines 300 grains, there'll be another line 330 grains, 360 grains, because you have to buy the line to fit your rod and fit the size of your rod, fits the size of your stroke. Okay, I was going to show you that it's difficult to do. Okay, 45 degrees is very easy. Okay, that's it. 45. I'm ruining my mind. But 90 degrees. I'm just giving you some pointers for those who are taking tests, because there are things which are more difficult and not really explained. Now, if you do 90 degrees, first of all, you are making the line go that way, 90 degrees, and then you want to tell the line you want to make it come this way so that you can go across this way. And the line will not follow you. It will try to, I can't demonstrate that. Do you see a bloody L there? Because the line automatically wants to go straight forward, and you're trying to pull it back. No, I can't. Do you see a little L shape? See that? And that's not good for the test. They want when you set anchor, they want your anchor to be straight at the target. And that's very difficult to do. It's actually very difficult to do. A Bintoro will test you that, right? 90 degrees high. I mean, 45 degrees, you have time to make it straight and then aim at Bintoro. 90 degrees is very hard. So what can you do? If you're taller, it's easier, right? So there's one way out for those of us who are not 6 foot. You will notice that if the line is coming back and forth, it's no problem. I mean, the line coming here, you can bring it back straight, no problem. It's only when you want to turn 90 degrees is the problem. So one way to cheat on this is you want the target to be there, 90 degrees change. You make the line, instead of going this way, that way, you make the line go this way and that way. Okay, so you make a big crescent, make big crescent. See? And then when you come down, then see the line going to be straight because it's easier. Do you see that? Right? If you make it this way, and then by the time you anchor, it's going to be easier to get straight. Then, if you try to do this, and then go 90 degrees. Basically, you're making like overhead cats, right?
Called in Australia.
Can you throw one?
I mean, there's no room for this, but sometimes you can even make it very obvious. You can never get a bloody L. And I did tell you the 45-degree change is relatively easy. So if you're nervous in test conditions, make more than 90 degrees. 90 degrees plus 45 is 130. Make a 135-degree change, you see? The line is straight. At 90 degrees is hard. By that time, okay? In fact, if you make 180 degrees, it's easy. Yeah? I'm going to ruin my life over here. See?
Question? I also observed, Soon Lee, you're making one other big change with what you do to make that 90 degrees.
Well, you do move your body.
Yeah.
So you have to move, get your body ready. But the 180 degrees, you really cannot.
Yeah, but with that 90 degree, sometimes more difficult to learn.
The 90 degrees, that's why I'm saying it's difficult to learn. So you sometimes, but you see, you sometimes get ready by facing the target. Many people say that. But if you're doing 135 degrees, I don't think you can.
No, but 90 degrees.
I'm saying that it's flexible. You modify to what you think you can do. All right. So I just explained to you how to self-learn spade casting from backwards up. Right. From what you already know, you just build on it. Second is, if you're thinking of doing a test, this is a big problem. The second thing that's a big problem is the difference between the D loop and the V loop. And that's a problem too, because we want to see the shape like a V, or we want to see the shape like a D. Okay? So V loop, most people, when they do spade casting, they do kind of stop a little bit and then they throw, right? If you want to get a D loop, you cannot stop. Oh, this is costing me $50 US. Right? This is like a V loop, all right? But if you want a D loop, you want a curve like a semicircle. How do you go about doing that? You go about doing that by beginning with lifting more before you start. Because when you lift more, we're always afraid you get a piled anchor if you lift too much. But for the D loop, when you come back, you're going to lift the rod up anyway, so that you're going to kind of dissolve that piled anchor. Because when you lift up and then you come down and raise up the rod, the weight of the line allows you to scribe a nice vertical D. So there's a difference. For a V loop, you almost always start low because you want to have a horizontal lower leg. For a D loop, you start high and then you. Can you see it's more rounded? It's not like a V, right? You think yourself in your head that you want the rod tip to describe, right? You see that the other way is you're supposed to be able to do. Okay, I'm going to leave you to the THCI. Local THCI for more instruction. Okay? Thank you. If you have questions, I'll be glad to.